Hello and welcome to Shri Rajayas. My name is Shashank Roy, and this is the 32nd day of war, 32nd day of US Iran war or the West Asia war. And we are going to talk about a very important topic: who is funding this war? Because if we go by the reports, it shows that US is bleeding with 2,000 cuts. US is bleeding, US is bleeding through 1,000 cuts. Through 1,000 cuts. This is what United States of America is facing. Now the question is, can this war be sustained? When US initiated this war, US thought that it will be a cakewalk. What was the US objective? What was the US objective in this war? The objective was it will be not more than 10 days war. It will not be more than 10 days of war. The second objective was dismantling dismantling defense infrastructure defense infrastructure of Iran. The second was dismantling nuclear capabilities nuclear capabilities of Iran. The third one was destroying the oil infrastructure to incur massive damage on Iran. The fifth one was eliminate leadership, eliminate leadership, mainly Khamenei, and install, and that will lead to regime change. That will lead to regime change. But 32 days into this war, and we cannot find anything happening here, right? The war was extended from 10 days to 32 days. Dismantling defense infrastructure, yes. B-2 bombers were used in dismantling defense infrastructure, and Iran has incurred huge losses, infrastructure losses. Now, nuclear capability, yes, nuclear capability got destroyed, but it cannot be said that Iran has lost its entire capability to start from scratches. Again, the fourth one is oil infrastructure. Yes, oil infrastructure got dismantled, but in retaliation, Iran has done more damage to oil infrastructure of US allies. Next is eliminating leadership. Yes, 40 leaders along with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei got eliminated, but instead of regime change, instead of civil war, people got more united, and the US anti-US sentiments grew louder. They've selected a new leader, Mustafa Khamenei. So nothing changed on ground. So what is the outcome? The outcome is that with every that if this war is causing millions, this war is causing billions. In this 32 days war, what has happened? US has already lost more than 25 billion dollars in this war. Now the question is, will US sustain this war together? Will USA will fund this war again alone? 2 days back, United States of America said that, spoke to its allies and said, you go with your ships, go to Strait of Hormuz and get your oil on your own. US is not going to protect you for future. So in this way, Donald Trump is telling European Union nations to go get your oil from Strait of Hormuz. Now, what does that mean? That means is that Donald Trump is not happy with European allies, Why? Because European allies, such as the major players, such as Germany, France, UK, and other countries are not ready to chip in or fund this war. Now the question is, did you discuss this matter with your allies? Did you discuss this matter before this war? Did you discuss with your allies? Did you consult? There was no consultation. Whose war is it, by the way? Is it the US war or is it the Israel's war US is fighting? Have you achieved your intended objective? Not so far. Iran is still intact. Iran is inflicting huge damages every day. The weapon system, the big weapon systems of US are being destroyed one after another by US small time devices such as drone and ballistic missile, which will cause few hundred or few $1,000s in comparison of 3 million cost of per missile launched by Tomahawk cruise missiles or the THAAD missiles. So now US has reached a breaking point where which is asking questions that it is asking allies to fund this war. Now the question is, during Iraq war, during Iraq war, US Arab allies along with the Germany and France, they they paid billion of dollar to USA in the name of war. But this time, no support is coming from NATO members, European allies, or from the Gulf countries. In fact, the Gulf countries are thinking in another way. The Gulf countries are thinking about an alternative security architecture because security architecture of USA is less of a support and more of a liability. Gulf countries got attacked not because of their own fault. Gulf countries got attacked because of being US allies. Gulf countries got attacked because they allowed massive defense infrastructure to be created in their territory, and these territories were targeted by Iran. So now US is more of a liability than the support system. The Gulf countries are in dilemma what to do and what not to do. If they support this war, if they fund this war, more attack will come from Iran. And Iran is not looking back. Iran has decided to go for brinkmanship. Nothing to lose. It's an all-out war. But it is costing very much to USA. US is completely drawn out of resources, and this is what this article talks about, that who is going to fund this war, and this is what this article is all about. So in GS, this is the syllabus integration, and this is what during 1991 Gulf War, Gulf state funded major cost. Current trigger is war cost is rising rapidly with every passing day. There is a domestic pressure because US government or the US citizen, US as a country is not ready to entangled in another prolonged war. They spent 20 years in Afghanistan. And what did they get? What did they get? Nothing. They spent huge number of years in Iraq war. They entangled in different wars in African nations. And now, when the US economy is slowing down, the rating of Donald Trump is getting reduced with every passing day, and there are prospects of impeachment as well, or his removal from the office. He is waging this war. So in fact, there are protests. No King's protest is going on in United States of America, which is creating a pressure on Donald Trump and his existence in office. So now, US domestic pressure is increasing day by day. Now, escalating cost. The first 6 days cost $11.3 billion to USA. By 12th, it's 16.5, and by 32, it's more than $35 billion. Pentagon says that they need $200 billion of fund to fund this war, and not sure for how many days. Now, economic pressure. War is becoming financially unsustainable. There is a domestic impact, rising fuel prices. $4 per gallon is USA, which is leading to protest in USA. Now, key questions with Gulf countries. US expects that Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait may contribute in this war, but nothing has come out openly. Ground reality, no public commitment yet. Gulf state says the war was not initiated by them. They are already facing missile attacks, infrastructure damage, and they are already funding their own defense system. Now, there is also a lesson for Gulf monarchies that instead of being dependent on somebody else's security architecture, you must have your own defense architecture. Again, there is also a thought process going on that US has become more of a liability, right? So, this is it. Political sensitivity in Gulf. Asking Gulf nation to fund the war raises sovereignty concern, domestic backlash, and regional legitimacy issues. Again, there is a question, what if US wages another war on behalf of Israel in future? Will US ask the Gulf monarchies to fund this again and again? Whose war was that, by the way? Why should Gulf countries pay? In fact, the Gulf countries should be compensated for the damages they incurred because of being associated with the USA. Iran is also asking for war compensation the US has inflicted on its infrastructure. Only then Iran is will be ready for any kind of negotiations. So dual strategy, the view one is not our war, the Gulf countries say that not our war, we will not fund. The view 2 says Iran seen as threat, so indirect support might be possible there. So, what can be the outcome? The outcome can be covert or indirect financial or strategic support in this war, but this war is not going to sustain for very long. So, this is it in this article. We'll get back to you with a new topic. Till then, thank you so much. Wish you a wonderful day ahead. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.